Hello, the next part in this video series is the coding of running records with the analysis component, okay? So we've taken a running record and now we're ready to really dig in to see what does this mean? What does this information that we've gathered from the running record really mean? So let's take a look at this running record. So the child has read these words and I already have it marked. Then we need to know what sources of information was the child using. So this is digging into that picture that you're getting from this running record. It's giving you a picture into the child's reading process. And there's three big areas that we look for. One is called the meaning, and the next is structure, and then finally the visual. So what we mean by this, when we talk about the M, the S, and the V, meaning is, what is the book mainly about? What is the book mainly about? Is the reader making attempts at words that goes with the book? Does it seem like it would have anything to do with what this book is about? The structure means, how does it sound in our English language? Do we talk like that? Is it structurally the way we would speak? Maybe you might call it grammatically correct. Would it sound like that in English? And then the visual has to do with the actual print of the letters, the graphics of the letters. If they say a word that, if they're looking at the word father, for example, and they say the word dad, the D and the F aren't similar. They don't begin with the same letters. They don't end with the same letters. And so the child would not be using visual information to analyze or read. Does that make sense? Okay, so these are our three cueing sources. Some people refer to them as cueing systems: meaning, structure, and visual. Okay, now I have a few done for us, and we're going to look at that really quickly. When you analyze them, or when I analyze them, I usually put MSV at the end of each row. And the rule of thumb is you stop at the point of error and analyze. You don't read all the way to the end of the sentence and then go back. You read up into the point of error. So the child says, a dog have. Then you would stop and you would say, okay, meaning-wise, does that kind of go with the book? Is this book about this? Would it make sense meaning-wise? Well, you could give credit for that meaning-wise. Structurally, you probably would not, because I don't think in the English language you would say a dog have, because grammatically we would say has, right? So, but visually, the child is looking at the first two letters possibly, okay? If not the first two, at least the first one. So I would give credit for meaning and visual. The second error, a mon, a money. Now, if you knew this whole book was about whiskers and animals or with whiskers, things that have whiskers, do you think it would make sense to say a money? A money? Probably not, okay? So I would not give credit for meaning. Would you say a money? Structurally, some people might be like, oh, I could give that to them because maybe you were going to say a money clip. And so if you think that that would be structurally okay, then give credit for it. But if you could argue against it, then don't, okay? Each person has to mark it the way they think. And it's not too significant if people disagree, because and people will. You'll see it one way, somebody else will see it another way. But in the grand scheme of things, it's not going to really matter unless we're just very drastically off and miscalling lots of things. And we're never in agreement, okay? Visually, we could give credit for that because the child is looking at the first part of the word monkey. All right, this next row, a mice. Meaning-wise, you might say a mice, and visually, you could give credit for that. Structurally, probably not. Then a lion, meaning-wise would make sense. Structurally, you would say a lion, but visually, no. there's nothing similar except for, let's just say they saw the straight line and of the T. That would be given lots of leeway there, so I probably would not give credit for that. Now, this one, you don't analyze because they actually got it right. They started off by saying will, and then they changed it to whiskers. Whiskers, okay? So they did get it. All right, so now we're on this row. Let's see if we could do this together. There are 2 errors in this row, and so we'll analyze both of those. The first word is the, and whenever the error is on the first word, you really don't have anything to judge against it. Like you almost always have to say, well, it's the first word in the sentence, so they probably use meaning, they probably use structure, they probably use visual. You know, you don't really have anything to go on, typically. I mean, could be an error that they might say that you're like, oh, I'm not giving that. Visual, I don't know that I shouldn't have given visual for that, and so because the doesn't look anything like the A, so I'm going to squiggle that out. But I'm going to say, I'm going to give them credit for meaning and give credit for structure. Okay, this next word, I did not mention this when I was explaining how to score a running record. So this is important. What they did when they sounded this word out, they went ad. They never said had. The way I know they never said had is there's not a check mark there, okay? If they had said had, if they had gone had, whoever coded it would have put a check mark there. Because that's just sounds in isolation, because they just sounded it out and they never said the word, then I'm not going to be able to code that with meaning, structure, or visual. I can say they did use visual information, but meaning-wise, that it wasn't a word, okay? Hope you're following me with that. All right, so on this one, there are 2 errors, A for and. So meaning-wise, I'm going to give credit for that. Structure, I'm going to give credit. Visual, I'm going to give credit. Ought, oughty, okay, a ought or oughty. I don't know of anything meaning-wise that could be. Structure-wise, because it's not really a word, I can't give credit for that. But I do think they're using the visual, okay? That makes sense. That is a visual error. You don't code the repeat. Then, I for and. So, meaning I'm going to give that. It's the first word in the sentence. Structure, I'll give credit. But the I and the and, I cannot give the visual. I feel, meaning-wise, that makes sense. Structurally, you can say I feel, but visually, I cannot give credit for that. Okay? I feel my, meaning-wise, I could give that. Structure, I feel my. No use of visual there. Okay? And then dad, I feel my dad, meaning-wise, I can give that. Structure, I can give that, but I cannot give the visual for that. So I've lost my chart now, and the next part of our work, we're going to count how many MSVs we have, and then we're going to talk about what we'll do about it. Okay? Thanks for hanging with me. If you're still there, you're better off than my chart that just fell. All right.